With nearly 4,000 licenses.
Hello, this is 5 on 20 News. My name is Richard Aguirre.
And I'm Phyllis James, coming to you live from our studio in downtown Tucson. It's Monday, September 11th. Let's talk local headlines.
Let's do it. Arizona environmental advocates claim that cuts to the EPA could endanger some state programs aimed to protect the environment. The Environmental Defense Fund released an analysis of the 2018 budget request for the EPA, which reduces the agency's budget from $8.3 billion to $5.7 billion. One of the programs that could be impacted in Arizona is the budget for the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality, which now gets $315 million per year. A budget request summary for ADEQ said that the cuts would affect pass-through funding for local government organizations and the amounts dispersed to private sector organizations who help the agency accomplish their mission. They say that the funding cuts would have to be made up by state taxpayers. The EDF report identifies 9 EPA-funded programs that are at risk in Arizona, with 3 facing elimination and 6 facing cuts between 18 and 30%. One program would be the National Priorities List, also known as the Superfund. This program would see nearly a $330 million cut from its current budget of $1 billion if the Trump administration's budget request for the EPA is approved. Arizona has 9 Superfund sites, which are polluted areas the government has agreed to clean up. Losing a third of its funding means that the agency would have difficulty completing those cleanup projects. Another program marked for a 30% cut would be the Indian Environmental General Assistance Program, which helps tribal communities with water infrastructure, education, environmental cleanup of hazardous waste. Other programs could face elimination altogether, such as the Non-Point Source Pollution Implement Grant and the program that monitors and prevents leaks of underground storage tanks called LUST or LUST.
Arizona Attorney General Mark Brnovich announced on Friday that he filed a lawsuit against the state university system over tuition raises. Brnovich's suit claims that the Arizona Board of Regents dramatically and unconstitutionally increased the price of tuition and mandatory fees for more than 300% since 2003. The AG also raised concern over the board's decision to lower in-state tuition rates for DACA recipients who are immigrants who were brought illegally over the border when they were children. According to the state constitution, public university tuition must be kept close to as free as possible. Brnovich said that the Board of Regents need to be held accountable and answer tough questions for Arizona's skyrocketing tuition rates. The lawsuit was timed in the same week that the Trump administration announced that the DACA program would be stopped, along with a 6-month grace period to allow Congress to pass a bill related to the program. While Brnovich claims that the lawsuit is primarily aimed at high tuition costs, the timing makes the suit look as though it's more interested in targeting DACA.
A Sierra Vista company was chosen to build a prototype for a section of the big, beautiful border wall that would be see-through, as opposed to other sections that are opaque. KWR Construction of Sierra Vista won 1 out of 4 contracts for the see-through portion of the wall. 2 weeks ago, it was announced that Tempe-based Fisher Industries was chosen to create a prototype for the non-see-through portion of the wall. The president of KWR said that he was not allowed to discuss the details of the contract, but confirmed that they were one of the companies chosen for the project. 8 total prototypes will be built for the 2 sections of the wall at a cost of $3.6 million, and will be built in San Diego during the fall. The Washington Post reported that KWR Construction is Hispanic-owned and has received threats and harassment for taking part in the construction of the proposed border wall. The wall still lacks funding, as Democrats have opposed any bills that include border wall funding. The Trump administration considered attaching it to a bill to raise the government's debt ceiling, but ended up holding back on the plans.
Former Maricopa County Joe Arpaio's infamous immigration posse will be investigated by current Sheriff Paul Penzone, according to KVOA. The group was made up of volunteer citizens who conducted search and rescue operations, transported arrestees to jail, and maintained security at crime scenes. The group was often criticized for racial profiling and led to criminal charges against Arpaio earlier this year. Arpaio was found guilty of criminal contempt of court when he refused the judge's orders to dismantle the posse group. Arpaio maintains that he didn't understand the judge's orders and was given a presidential pardon last month. Supporters of the posse say that they saved taxpayers' money by not having to pay law enforcement to perform simple tasks like accompanying arrestees to jail. But critics say that the group only served as a political tool of Arpaio and further contributed to tense race relations in our country. Penzone has said that he's open to keeping some posse groups, but his investigation aims to find out which he would keep.
Arizona Red Cross volunteers are traveling to Florida this week to help victims of Hurricane Irma, which swept through the state over the weekend, devastating infrastructure and killing 6. The Red Cross of Southern Arizona is looking for more volunteers to help out. So if you're interested, visit redcross.org and click on Become a Volunteer.
And I wanted to take a moment to talk about the program you're watching right now. Here at 5 on 20, we are undertaking a new kind of citizen journalism. We are going to give you the news as we see it. And we want more people to speak up with us. We need writers, hosts, anchors, camera people, sound people, the whole gamut. The times require a new way of informing ourselves. So join us. Do it now.
Just
email us
do it.
at info@creativetucson.org to get involved. And if you think there's a story we're missing, a person we should interview, an upcoming event we should cover, or have any news tips for us, shoot an email to info@creativetucson.org. We're here for you, and we want to cover all stories from all points of view. So don't be strangers.
Info@creativetucson.org?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm going to send an email. I'm going to get involved.
Get involved.
Hurricane Irma slammed into Florida over the weekend, bringing in dangerous floodwaters and knocking out power in 60% of the state. 6 people in Florida were killed as a result of the storm, one death being a sheriff's deputy who died from a car crash. The Caribbean islands, who also suffered from the wrath of Irma, lost 37 people. Irma also swept through Cuba, flooding the capital of Havana and killing 10. The hurricane's path led to Georgia today, where Irma caused flooding in cities of Brunswick and Savannah, although the hurricane was downgraded to a Category 4 storm. In Florida, the hurricane hit most aggressively in the Keys and the cities of Naples and Miami. At times, the hurricane reached up to 142 miles per hour winds, with the city of Naples seeing 12 inches of rain with a 7-foot storm surges. FEMA said that 192,000 people are seeking shelter in 590 shelters across multiple states. On Sunday, the president approved a major disaster declaration, freeing up millions of dollars in federal funding to flow directly to Floridians impacted by the hurricane and to reimburse local communities and state governments for aid. Florida Governor Rick Scott said that nearly 30 states had so far deployed personnel and resources to help with the hurricane response.
More Americans are using marijuana and abusing opioids more frequently, but are smoking tobacco less, according to a recent report by the National Survey on Drug Use and Health. The report found that 1 in 10 Americans had used an illicit drug in the past 12 months, while about 24 million people reported using marijuana. The rise in marijuana is mainly attributed to older Americans over the age of 25, even though the 18 to 25 age group is still the most likely to smoke marijuana. 7% of those over the age of 25 reported using marijuana, which is up from 4% a decade ago. This is likely due to 8 states and the District of Columbia choosing to legalize marijuana for recreational purchases. Unsurprisingly, marijuana rose in these states, which include Alaska, Colorado, Oregon, Nevada, and Washington. Regulators are also developing marijuana programs in California, Massachusetts, and Maine, where it was legalized by referendum during the last election. The report also found that nearly 12 million Americans over the age of 12 abused opioids in the past year. 13% of those said they abused the drug to get high, while more than half of abusers said they got their drugs from a friend or relative. Drug overdoses killed about 64,000 Americans last year, according to the National Center for Health Statistics at the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. This is more than the over 58,000 Americans who died in the entirety of the Vietnam War, and almost 3 times the amount of Americans who died in traffic accidents in the same year. The report also found that less Americans are smoking tobacco products. About a decade ago, about a quarter of Americans smoked tobacco, while it's now only 1 in 5. Alcohol abuse also declined among those aged 18 to 25, although the number of those abusing alcohol are still high at 15 million per year. Experts said that if marijuana was left off the list, then overall drug use would have decreased in the U.S. But advocates of legal marijuana looked at another positive outcome of the study. It found that marijuana use among teenagers has dropped sharply and is at the lowest levels since 2002, when the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration began tracking data.
Face reading programs using artificial intelligence can correctly guess whether people are straight or gay, according to a study from Stanford University. The report found the AI could correctly guess the sexual orientation of a person with 81% of the time for men and 74% for women. The study is raising questions about the ethics of facial detection software and the potential for these programs to be used to violate people's privacy or to be used for anti-LGBT purposes. Stanford uses software to test more than 35,000 facial images that men and women posed on a U.S. dating website. Researchers used mathematical models for the software to analyze visuals based on a large data set. The research found that gay men and women were tended to have gender atypical features, expressions, and grooming styles. It also revealed that gay men tend to have narrower jaws, longer noses, and larger foreheads than straight men, and that gay women also had larger jaws and smaller foreheads compared to straight women. Human judges performed much worse than the software, with only 61% of men correctly identifying and 54% of women. When the software reviewed a data set of only 5 men and 5 women, it performed even better, correctly identifying 91% of the men and 83% of women. The paper suggests that sexual orientation originates from hormones before birth. This further lends support to the theory that people are born gay rather than learning this behavior, as is sometimes claimed. Researchers say that it's important to know the capabilities of artificial intelligence so that we can discuss potential misuses of this technology. They say that government and private companies need to proactively consider privacy risks and the need for safeguards and regulations.
3 executives from the credit reporting agency Equifax sold almost $2 million worth of company stock within days of a massive data breach, potentially affecting 143 million Americans. The breach was publicly disclosed last week, nearly a month after the breach occurred. However, Equifax said that the executives had no knowledge that an intrusion had occurred at the time they sold their shares.
Cool story,
On
bro.
Thursday, Equifax revealed that it discovered unauthorized access to its systems on July 29. The intrusion potentially revealed sensitive details of Americans, including names, birthdays, Social Security, and driver's license numbers. Hackers also stole credit card numbers of 209,000 customers. Regulatory filings show that Chief Financial Officer John Gamble, along with Equifax executives Joseph Lagron and Rodolfo Ploder, sold their stock on August 1st and 2nd. Once the breach was announced, the stock price of Equifax slid by double digits as New York Attorney General Eric Schneiderman opened an investigation into the hack. The company has further received criticism for forcing its customers into so-called arbitration clauses that prevent individuals from suing the company or being part of a class action lawsuit. Customers were forced to sign arbitration clauses if they wish to be a part of the company's free credit monitoring service and its customers help website. If you think your information might have been compromised, you can visit Equifax Security 2017.com or call 866-447-7559.
This was 5 on 20 News. My name is Richard Aguirre.
And I'm Phyllis James.
Don't forget to like our videos, like our Facebook profile, subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's where you can find all the Creative Tucson content. Bother us at info@creativetucson.org. Thank you for watching. Stay creative, Tucson.
Stay creative, Tucson.